I woke up at 3 in the morning. The bed beside me was empty and cold. I had loved her for 2 years. I had been looking at engagement rings online, imagining the day I would get down on one knee. All I did was send her one simple text message. "Where are you?" When she came home, she screamed in my face, "You are too clingy." That night I said one word. Okay. That was the last word I spoke to her for 3 years. Before we dive into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you have ever felt unappreciated in a relationship, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Stick around to find out what happened when she finally tracked me down 3 years later. My name is Bud. I was 28 years old working as a software developer at a mid-sized tech company in Columbus, Ohio. I have always been the quiet type, the kind of guy who sits in the corner at parties and observes rather than mingles. I do not talk much, but when I care about someone, I give them everything I have. My life back then was stable, but admittedly a little monotonous. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment near downtown, about 15 minutes from my office. Every day looked pretty much the same. I went to work, sat in front of my computer for 8 or 9 hours, came home, heated up some leftover food, watched a bit of television, and went to bed. I was not the romantic type by any stretch of the imagination. I did not know how to write poetry or plan elaborate surprises with rose petals and candles. But when I loved someone, I loved with my whole heart. I did not hold back. I did not play games. I just gave everything. I met Megan on a Saturday morning in early October at a small coffee shop about 2 blocks from my office. The leaves outside were turning orange and gold, and there was that crisp autumn chill in the air that makes you want to wrap your hands around a warm cup. I was standing in line scrolling through some work emails on my phone when someone bumped into me hard from behind. Hot coffee splashed all over my shirt, soaking through to my skin. I winced and turned around. A woman stood there with her hand over her mouth, her eyes wide with embarrassment. She had wavy brown hair that fell just past her shoulders and these bright hazel eyes that caught the morning light coming through the window. She apologized over and over again, her words tumbling out so fast I could barely keep up. "I am so sorry. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did that. I am such a klutz. Please let me pay for your dry cleaning. Actually, let me buy you a new shirt. I will do whatever you want. Just please do not be mad." I could not help but laugh. "It is fine," I told her. "Really. It is just a shirt." She looked at me like she could not believe I was not yelling at her. "Most people would be furious," she said. I shrugged. "I am not most people." We ended up sitting together at a small table by the window for the rest of the morning. Her name was Megan. She was 26 years old, working in marketing at an advertising agency downtown. She talked a lot, jumping from topic to topic with this infectious energy that made everything feel more alive. She told me about her job, her apartment, her cat named Whiskers, her favorite restaurants in the city. I mostly just listened and nodded, but I did not mind. I liked the sound of her voice. I liked the way her eyes lit up when she talked about something she was passionate about. By the time we finally got up to leave, the coffee shop was getting ready for the lunch crowd. We had been talking for almost 4 hours. We exchanged phone numbers outside on the sidewalk. I drove home that afternoon with coffee stains on my shirt and a smile on my face that I could not wipe off. The first 6 months with Megan felt like something out of a movie. She would cook dinner for me after long days at work, having everything ready by the time I walked through the door. She would show up at my office during lunch with homemade sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, leaving little notes that said things like "fuel for my favorite nerd." We took a road trip down to Hocking Hills State Park and spent the whole weekend camping under the stars, roasting marshmallows over a fire, and talking about our dreams for the future. She would leave little handwritten notes hidden in my jacket pockets for me to discover later. "Thinking of you. You make me happy. Cannot wait to see you tonight." Small things, but they meant the world to me. I started imagining our future together. I pictured us buying a house in the suburbs with a big backyard. I imagined getting married in a small ceremony with just our closest friends and family. I thought about having kids someday, teaching them how to ride bikes and helping them with their homework. I even started browsing engagement rings online late at night when Megan was asleep, trying to figure out what style she would like. I noticed she always admired simple, classic designs, so I started saving up for a solitaire diamond on a thin gold band. My friends at work told me I was lucky to have found someone like Megan. My mother called me every Sunday asking when I was finally going to pop the question. "Soon, Mom," I always told her. Soon. But somewhere around the 8th month, something started to shift. Small things at first, things that were easy to brush off or ignore. Megan started keeping her phone face down on the table whenever we were together, the screen pressed against the wood like she was hiding something. When she got text messages, she would glance at the notification and then take her phone into the bathroom to reply, closing the door behind her. She started coming home later and later from work, always saying that her team was swamped with a big project or that her boss was making everyone stay late. When I asked her about her projects, about what exactly was keeping her so busy, she gave me vague one-word answers and quickly changed the subject. I noticed all of this, but I convinced myself it was nothing. She is just stressed about work, I told myself. Everyone goes through busy seasons. It does not mean anything. I trusted Megan completely. I believed in us with every fiber of my being. And more than anything, I did not want to be the jealous, controlling boyfriend. I had seen those guys before, the ones who checked their girlfriends' phones and demanded to know where they were every second of the day. I did not want to be that person, so I said nothing. I pushed my doubts deep down into a corner of my mind and kept believing that everything would be fine. By the time we hit our first anniversary, the late-night phone calls had started. Megan would receive calls around 11 at night, sometimes even later, and she would take them in the other room with the door closed. When I asked who was calling so late, she told me they were clients in different time zones. International accounts, she said. People in London and Tokyo who needed to talk during their business hours. It required her to be available at odd times. I wanted to believe her. I really did. One night while Megan was taking a shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand next to our bed. I was not trying to snoop. I just happened to glance over. The screen lit up with a text message notification. The name at the top said Derek. Just 2 words on the preview. Tonight was amazing. My stomach dropped. But before I could process what I had seen, the screen went dark again. When Megan came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, I asked her as casually as I could manage who Derek was. She did not even look up as she dried her hair. Just a new guy at work, she said. We got assigned to the same account. He is teaching me the ropes. Nothing to worry about. Something in her voice felt off, but I let it go. I did not want to seem paranoid. The happy hours started multiplying after that. At first, it was just Friday evenings with her marketing team, a few drinks after work to celebrate making it through another week. I understood that. I thought it was healthy for her to have her own social life outside of our relationship. But then the Friday outings spread to Thursday nights, then Wednesday, then Tuesday. There were nights when Megan did not stumble through the door until 1 or 2 in the morning smelling like cigarette smoke and cheap beer. I would lie awake in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios, waiting for the sound of her keys in the lock. When she finally came home, I would sit up and ask if she had a good time. She would roll her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. Why do you always have to ask? She would snap at me. I was just hanging out with my coworkers. It is not a big deal. Stop being so clingy. She made it sound like I was the one with the problem, like caring about her well-being was some kind of character flaw. I started questioning myself constantly. Maybe I was being too clingy. Maybe I needed to give her more space. Maybe this was just what normal relationships looked like, and I was the one who was messed up. Then came the comparisons. Megan started measuring me against other people, and I always came up short. We would be sitting at dinner, and out of nowhere she would say something like, "Derek just got promoted to senior account manager. He makes almost twice what you do." Or we would be walking through the mall, and she would stop in front of a store window and sigh. "Sarah from work just got a Louis Vuitton bag from her boyfriend. It must be nice to date someone generous." Or we would be sitting on the couch on a Saturday night, and she would look at me with this expression of pure disappointment. "You know, most guys actually take their girlfriends out on the weekends. You are so boring. All you ever want to do is stay home." I tried to change. I really did. I made reservations at expensive restaurants downtown, the kind with white tablecloths and menus that did not have prices. I bought her jewelry and designer purses and fancy bottles of perfume. I planned weekend getaways to bed and breakfasts in wine country, but nothing was ever good enough. She would look at whatever I had done and shake her head. "You are only doing this because I complained," she would say, "not because you actually want to." If I had to tell you, it does not count. I felt like I was running on a treadmill that kept speeding up no matter how fast I went. I could never catch up. I could never measure up. I could never be enough. My confidence started crumbling piece by piece like a sandcastle being slowly eaten away by the tide. The distance between us grew wider with each passing day. Megan stopped cooking dinner for me. The little love notes in my jacket pockets disappeared entirely. We slept in the same bed every night, but we might as well have been on opposite sides of the ocean. We stopped talking about the future. We stopped talking about anything meaningful at all. I tried to bridge the gap, tried to start conversations about what was going wrong, but she always shut me down. I am tired, Bud. We will talk about it tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. Tomorrow was always just another excuse to avoid dealing with the elephant in the room. I started losing weight because I had no appetite. I could not sleep more than a few hours a night. I would lie awake until 3 or 4 in the morning, my mind spinning in circles, wondering what I had done wrong, wondering how I had failed, wondering if there was anything left of the relationship I had thought was going to last forever. One Thursday evening after work, I met up with Marcus, my best friend from college. We had been roommates freshman year and had stayed close ever since. He could tell something was wrong the moment he saw me. "You look terrible," he said as we slid into a booth at our usual bar. I told him everything over a couple of beers. The late nights, the phone calls, the comparisons, the way Megan made me feel guilty for caring. Marcus listened without interrupting, just nodding along as I talked. When I finally finished, he set down his glass and looked me straight in the eyes with this dead serious expression. "Bud," he said slowly, "she is gaslighting you." "You know that, right?" I shook my head automatically. "No," I said. "She is just going through a stressful time at work. Things will get better once her projects calm down." Marcus let out a long sigh. "Listen to yourself, man. You are making excuses for her. You have been making excuses for her for months. Open your eyes. This is not normal. This is not what a healthy relationship looks like." I did not know what to say. I just stared at my beer, watching the bubbles rise to the surface. I drove home that night in silence, Marcus's words echoing in my head. I lay on the couch for hours, staring up at the ceiling, asking myself a question I had been avoiding for a very long time. Am I lying to myself? The night before what would have been our 2-year anniversary, everything finally fell apart. I woke up suddenly around 3 in the morning, my throat dry and scratchy. I needed water. I reached across the bed instinctively the way I always did, just to feel Megan beside me. But my hand landed on cold, empty sheets. She was not there. The pillow on her side had not even been slept on. I sat up in bed, my heart starting to beat a little faster. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and called her number. It rang and rang and rang until it went to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. I sent a text message, typing with shaky fingers. "Where are you? I am worried." No response. I got out of bed and walked into the living room. The apartment was dark and silent. Her purse was not on the hook by the door where she usually left it. Her jacket was not draped over the back of the chair. I sat down on the couch in the darkness, looking out the window at the empty streets below. The city was completely still at this hour. Even the traffic lights seemed to blink more slowly. I waited. 1 hour passed. The sky outside stayed black. 2 hours. The first hints of dark blue started creeping in along the horizon. I sat there on that couch, not moving, barely breathing, just waiting and wondering and trying not to let my imagination run wild with possibilities. At 4:47 in the morning, I heard the sound of keys jingling outside the front door. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Megan walked in. Her hair was slightly messy, not the careful waves she always styled so perfectly. Her makeup was smudged around her eyes. There was a faint smell of alcohol on her breath mixed with something else. Cologne. A cologne that was not mine. I stood up from the couch slowly. She jumped when she saw me, her hand flying to her chest. "Bud!" she gasped. "You scared me." "What are you doing up?" I kept my voice calm, quiet, controlled. "Where were you?" I asked. "I called you. I texted you. You did not answer." Megan's expression shifted in an instant. The surprise melted away and was replaced by something hard and cold. Her eyes narrowed. Her jaw tightened. "Here we go again," she said, her voice rising. "You are always doing this, always asking questions, always checking up on me like I am some kind of criminal." I held up my hands. "I was just worried. It is almost 5 in the morning. The bed was empty. I did not know where you were." She cut me off before I could finish. "You are too clingy," she screamed. The words hit me like a slap across the face. "Do you not trust me?" Is that it? You think I am out doing something wrong? You are suffocating me, bud. I need space. I need room to breathe. I cannot live like this anymore. I stood there in silence looking at her. Really looking at her. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. I saw a stranger standing in front of me. This was not the woman who had spilled coffee on my shirt almost 2 years ago. This was not the woman who had left sweet notes in my jacket pockets. This was not the woman I had fallen in love with. This was someone I did not recognize anymore. Someone who could look me in the eyes and scream at me for the crime of caring about her. Megan kept yelling. She listed all my faults, all the ways I had disappointed her, all the reasons why I was not good enough. But I had stopped listening. My mind was somewhere far away, somewhere quiet and still, a place where her words could not reach me anymore. Finally, she ran out of steam. She stood there panting, waiting for me to fight back, waiting for me to apologize, waiting for me to beg for forgiveness like I always did. I looked at her one more time, and then I spoke one word. Okay, that was it. Just okay. Nothing else. Megan blinked. She seemed confused by my calmness. She had expected tears or anger or pleading, not this quiet acceptance. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something else, then closed it again. She muttered something under her breath that I could not quite hear, turned on her heel, stormed into the bedroom, and slammed the door so hard the pictures on the wall shook. I did not follow her. I stayed right where I was, standing alone in the living room as the first rays of sunlight started creeping through the windows. I stayed there for a long time, thinking about the last 2 years, thinking about all the criticism, all the comparisons, all the late nights waiting and wondering, all the times I had apologized for things that were not my fault, all the times she had made me feel guilty for simply loving her. I thought about what Marcus had said. She is gaslighting you. I thought about what my mother had told me years ago, back when I was just a kid and she was teaching me about love. You deserve to be loved the right way, bud. Never settle for less. I watched the sky turn from black to blue to pink to gold. And somewhere in those quiet hours before the world woke up, I made my decision. I was going to leave. No arguments, no confrontation, no long dramatic goodbye. I was simply going to disappear. At 6 in the morning, Megan was still asleep in the bedroom. I could hear her soft snoring through the closed door. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, making no sound at all. I went to the hall closet and pulled out my old suitcase, the one I had brought with me when I first moved to Columbus years ago. I carried it to the living room and set it on the couch. I only packed what truly mattered to me: clothes, my laptop and charger, my passport and other important documents, a few photographs of my family. I left behind everything that was connected to Megan, every gift she had ever given me, every photograph we had taken together, every physical reminder of the relationship I had thought would last forever. I did not want any of it. I picked up my phone and opened each app one by one. Facebook, blocked. Instagram, blocked. Snapchat, blocked. iMessage, blocked. I erased Megan from my digital life with a few taps of my thumb. She would not be able to call me. She would not be able to text me. She would not be able to find me on any platform. I was cutting every thread that connected us. I walked to the kitchen and placed my apartment key on the table, right there in the center where she would see it when she woke up. No note, no explanation, just the key. I took one last look around the apartment. 2 years of my life compressed into these 4 walls. 2 years of memories, both good and bad. 2 years of hoping and trying and failing and trying again. It all came down to this moment, this quiet goodbye that no one would witness. I picked up my suitcase. I walked to the front door. I opened it, stepped through, and closed it softly behind me without looking back. I got in my car and started driving. I did not have a specific destination in mind at first. I just knew I needed to put as many miles between myself and Columbus as possible. I drove west on Interstate 70, watching the sun rise in my rearview mirror. I drove for hours and hours, stopping only for gas and coffee. My phone sat silent on the passenger seat because there was no one left who could reach me. Somewhere around hour 10, as I crossed the border into Colorado and the Rocky Mountains, appeared on the horizon like jagged teeth against the sky. I knew where I was going. Denver, a new city where no one knew my name, a new start where I could rebuild myself from scratch, a new life where I could finally learn what it meant to be at peace. I had been driving for 14 hours straight by the time I pulled into a motel parking lot on the outskirts of Denver. I was exhausted down to my bones. But for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something I had almost forgotten existed. Hope. 3 years passed. 3 years of healing. 3 years of growing. 3 years of becoming someone I actually liked. I was 31 years old now. I had rebuilt my entire life from the ground up. I landed a position as a senior developer at a fast-growing tech startup in downtown Denver. The work was challenging and rewarding, and my salary was nearly double what I had been making back in Columbus. I moved into a nice apartment on the 15th floor of a high-rise building with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out at the Rocky Mountains. Every morning I woke up to that view and reminded myself how far I had come. I made new friends through a hiking group that met every weekend to explore the trails around the city. We would climb 14ers together, pushing ourselves to reach the summit and then celebrating with cold beers at some local brewery afterward. My coworkers at the startup became like a second family to me. We worked hard together and laughed hard together and supported each other through the ups and downs. More importantly, I learned how to love myself. It sounds cliché, I know, but it was true. I started going to the gym 4 times a week, not to impress anyone else, but because it made me feel strong and capable. I took cooking classes on Saturday mornings and discovered that I actually enjoyed making elaborate meals for myself. I read books about psychology and emotional health, trying to understand what had happened in my relationship with Megan and how I could avoid making the same mistakes again. I went to therapy for a while, unpacking all the baggage I had been carrying around for years. The sleepless nights became a distant memory. The constant second-guessing and self-doubt faded away. I stopped asking myself what I had done wrong. I finally understood deep in my bones that I had not done anything wrong. I had simply loved someone who did not know how to receive love. Someone who saw my care as control. Someone who saw my concern as suffocation. I forgave Megan, not because she deserved my forgiveness. She never apologized. She never acknowledged what she had done. But I forgave her anyway, because holding on to that anger and resentment was like drinking poison and expecting her to get sick. I deserved peace. I deserved to let go of the past and move forward with my life. So I did. One Friday afternoon in late September, I was packing up my laptop and getting ready to leave the office for the weekend when my desk phone rang. It was the receptionist from the front lobby. "There is someone here to see you," she said. "A woman. She says she is an old friend of yours." My stomach tightened. I did not have any old friends in Denver. Everyone I knew here I had met after I moved. I told the receptionist I would be right down. I took the elevator to the ground floor, my heart beating just a little bit faster than normal. The lobby doors opened and I stepped out. Megan was standing by the front desk. She looked different than I remembered. Thinner, older. There were dark circles under her eyes that her makeup could not quite hide. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail instead of the careful waves she used to spend an hour styling every morning. She was wearing jeans and a plain sweater, nothing like the designer outfits she used to obsess over. She looked up and saw me. Her eyes filled with tears almost immediately. "Bud," she said, her voice cracking. "I have been looking everywhere for you." I stopped about 10 feet away from her. I did not move any closer. "How did you find me?" I asked. My voice was calm, neutral, neither warm nor cold. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I hired a private investigator," she admitted. "It took him almost a year, but he finally tracked you down. I needed to talk to you. Please, just give me 5 minutes." I considered saying no. I considered turning around and walking back to the elevator and leaving her standing there in the lobby. But something stopped me. Maybe curiosity. Maybe a desire for closure. Maybe just the simple fact that, after 3 years, she no longer had any power over me. 5 minutes, I said. We walked to a coffee shop around the corner from my office and sat at a small table near the back. Megan ordered a latte with shaking hands. I ordered black coffee. We sat across from each other in silence for a long moment, the weight of 3 years hanging in the air between us. Then, Megan started talking, and crying, and confessing everything. She admitted that she had been cheating on me with Derek. It had started around the 8th month of our relationship, right around the time I first noticed her behavior changing. All those late nights at happy hour, all those phone calls at 11 at night, all those text messages she took into the bathroom to answer. It was all Derek. After I disappeared, Megan said she felt relieved at first. She thought she was finally free to be with the man she really wanted. She moved in with Derek within a month of my leaving. She thought they were going to build a life together. But 6 months later, everything fell apart. Derek had been stealing money from her the entire time they were together, draining her savings account little by little until there was almost nothing left. Then he left her for another woman, some younger girl he had been seeing on the side the whole time. And because Derek was technically her supervisor at work, he found ways to make her job impossible until she was eventually let go. She lost everything: her boyfriend, her job, her apartment, her savings. She had to move back in with her parents in Ohio at 29 years old. For the past 3 years, she said through her tears, "I have had nothing but time to think about what I did, about how I treated you, about what I threw away. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Bud, and I was too stupid and selfish to see it. I am so sorry. I was wrong about everything. Please give me another chance. Please." I sat there and listened to every word. I did not interrupt. I did not react. I just let her talk until she had nothing left to say. When she finished, I took a sip of my coffee and set the cup down carefully. "Megan," I said, "thank you for being honest with me. I appreciate that. But I need you to understand something. I am not the same person I was 3 years ago. The guy you called Clingy. The guy you screamed at for caring about where you were at 3 in the morning. That guy does not exist anymore. I have changed. I have healed. I have built a new life that makes me genuinely happy, and I have learned something important along the way. My peace of mind is worth more than any relationship, more than any person, more than any version of love that requires me to shrink myself down to make someone else comfortable. I forgive you for what you did. I truly do. But I cannot go back. I will not go back." Tears streamed down her face. She reached across the table like she was going to grab my hand, but I pulled away. I stood up from the table. I took out my wallet and left enough cash to cover both our drinks plus a generous tip. I looked at Megan one last time. She looked so small sitting there, so broken. "I hope you find what you are looking for," I said. "I really do. But it is not going to be with me. Take care of yourself, Megan." And then I walked out of that coffee shop, and I did not look back. I drove home as the sun set behind the mountains. The peaks were turning pink and gold and purple, the snow on the summits glowing like fire in the fading light. I rolled down my window and let the cool mountain air fill my lungs. I smiled. I had learned something important over the past 3 years. Sometimes walking away is not giving up. It is not admitting defeat. It is choosing yourself. It is recognizing your own worth when someone else refuses to see it. Loving someone does not mean you have to endure pain. It does not mean you have to accept disrespect. It does not mean you have to apologize for caring. What Megan called being clingy was really just love. It was concern. It was wanting to know that the person you cared about was safe. There is nothing wrong with that. There never was. The right person will never make you feel guilty for loving them. The right person will never scream at you for asking where they are at 3 in the morning. The right person will make you feel like your love is a gift, not a burden. So if someone in your life is making you feel like you are too much, like your care is suffocating, like your love is a problem to be solved, maybe it is time to vanish. Not for them. For yourself. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been made to feel guilty for simply caring about someone you loved? Have you ever had someone twist your concern into something ugly? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I would love to hear what you have been through. If this story touched something inside you, please hit that like button. It helps more than you know. And if you have not already subscribed to this channel, so you do not miss more stories like this one, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today. Sometimes the people who need it most are the ones who would never search for it themselves. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. I hope you find the peace and love you truly deserve. Take care of yourself. Remember that your peace is priceless. And never let anyone make you feel bad for having a heart that cares. Until next time.